Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business News Afternoon Report for Tuesday, the 28th of May, 2024. I'm Sean Elmer. Every afternoon, we've got the 5 stories that happened today that you need to know about. Story number 1, the S&P ASX 200 closed down 0.3% today to 7,767 points, with industrials and utilities leading the market lower while consumer staples stocks outperformed. Given Wall Street was closed overnight, there was no real lead in and trading was relatively quiet. The banks were mixed, the big miners were flat. Wesfarmers, Goodman Group and Telstra all lost around 0.5%, while Macquarie was off nearly 1% and Transurban was down 1.6%. Higher metals prices helped diversified miner South32, while the gold stocks, including Northern Star and De Grey Mining, did well. Story number 2, in corporate news, medical software darling Pro Medicus announced 5 new contract wins in the US worth a minimum of $45 million. That sent its share price up 1%. Southern Cross Media said it's considering an Australian community media proposal that Southern Cross buys ACM assets, including a portfolio of 14 of its daily print and digital news publications, key regional and metro titles, and its agriculture division. Southern Cross says the talks are preliminary with no certainty of a deal. Shares in uranium miner Boss Energy fell 11% today following Chief Executive Duncan Craib selling stock worth $21 million. It was the worst performing stock among the top 200 today. And Westpac-owned mortgage broking franchise Rams Financial is under investigation and could face penalties related to home loans written over a 4-year period in which franchisees might have flouted credit rules, including around responsible lending. Story number 3, it might be hard to believe that in 2024, every trade on the New York Stock Exchange settles or finalises in 2 days' time. It takes 48 hours. So even though we can transfer money between mobiles instantly, the stock exchange takes 2 days. That is until this week. It will change to 24 hours, or as it's known in the industry, T+1. It used to be T+1 until the 1920s when the volume of trading surged. Suddenly it became T+5. Following the Black Monday crash in 1987, it went down to T+3, then T+2 in 2017. Finally, the New York Stock Exchange has entered the modern era with same-day trading. Not instantaneous, but at least it's the same day. In Australia, we operate on a T+2 basis. Pretty archaic, I reckon. Story number 4, Federal Parliament is back in session, with question time being dominated today by non-citizen criminals who have had their visas restored. Immigration Minister Andrew Giles says he'll urgently consider overturning a number of recent Administrative Appeals Tribunal decisions, allowing visa holders to stay in Australia despite committing serious crimes. Opposition leader Peter Dutton asked Mr Giles in question time about a case of a New Zealand citizen who was allowed to stay in Australia despite raping his stepdaughter. Mr Giles said he had cancelled the man's visa and it remained cancelled by the Department of Home Affairs before the tribunal ruled otherwise. Much of the criticism from the opposition comes from the tribunal's interpretation of Ministerial Direction 99, which says significant weight must be given to a person's ties to Australia. So a New Zealander who has lived most of their life in Australia might be allowed to stay, for instance. Mr Giles said Direction 99 does not decrease the importance of protecting the community from crime. And story number 5, Optus has upped its post-paid mobile phone plans for new customers with price rises somewhere between 5 and 6%. The country's second largest telco wasn't expected to lift its prices until new Chief Executive Stephen Roux started in November. They've done it now. Vodafone increased its share prices by about 9% in March. Analysts are now waiting to see what Telstra does. That's it for the afternoon report for Tuesday, the 28th of May, 2024. Michael Thompson and I will be back tomorrow morning with a Wednesday edition of Fear and Greed Business News. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.